What's the difference between facing out and facing in while squatting on the Smith machine? When facing outward, you're squatting in the direction that the bar is moving. As you descend, because the bar moves forward, your knees have to travel forward as a consequence. This becomes more quad dominant because we can bend our knees more, we can move our knees farther away from where the load is, and we can actually use forces of the friction of the floor to make it even more quad dominant, kind of like a pendulum squat. When we face into the machine, our hips are encouraged to move backward, which makes it a more hip-dominant squat. Although the range of motion looks more limited on this variation, you're actually getting more stretch and more load on the glutes and the adductors as compared to the first style of squatting. If you stand more directly underneath of the bar, you'll get a good amount of knee and hip dominance in the squat. If the dotted line here represents the path of the Smith bar, and we can kind of picture facing out this way, we can imagine how this distance would become really, really big to the knee and smaller to the hip. It's almost kind of like we're doing something like a hack squat or a pendulum squat. And then when we face in toward the machine and our hips go back, it's the opposite, so that distance is much bigger to the hip and much smaller to the quad, and we almost have to sort of pull ourselves in that direction with the hips as a consequence of that loading direction.